Welcome to the November 21st version of Zooch and Wilde. I'm I'm going to take a step back because it's kind of crazy. This we've been doing this every week this whole year. This is the last regular season episode. This
Yeah,
this, this
we're at
pretty
rivalry
cool.
week.
We are at Rivalry. I think that's pretty cool. We've had a lot of laughs, a lot of rants, and I think this week is going to be an encapsulation of the season because there's a lot of games I want to laugh at. There's going to be some good rants this week by us and coaches. I think after some of these games, and I think we're going to see some good games. We saw some good games last week, and we got some good games coming up this week. Big rivalry week. It might run a little long this episode. We got a lot of games to cover.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best weekends of the year. You start really like tomorrow when people get off of work. I would say you get like I think a lot of people take Friday off, so you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Great rivalry games. You have basically a winner goes to the playoff game in this Michigan Ohio State game.
Hmm.
We'll see how Auburn does, even though they just lost to New Mexico
Yeah.
State. But something tells me that game will be closer than people think it's going to be based on that New Mexico game.
Yeah, the ghost of
Um,
Gus Malzahn will somehow keep them close. That's the Gus Malzahn special. Is
oh,
you
yeah.
lose to Mississippi State by 2, and then you beat Alabama by a touchdown.
Yep.
But yeah, last week, really awesome games. I mean, the top ranked matchup game was Washington versus Oregon State. It was a later game, but it was a nice game. I felt like Oregon State was punching up the entire game. Also, underrated funny moment. Were you watching the game when the long snapper like sent it over that guy's head and like immediately was just storming around, pissed off on the sidelines,
You
like
know,
no one was talking to him? He
I
threw
didn't
a
see any
fit.
of that game. I was at the
He
Steelheads game.
he looked like he looked like he was the most stressed out person in the state of Oregon. He was just like you could see like it was raining, so you could see their breath. You just saw like just like breathing heavy. But yeah, Washington. I mean, people I think who aren't on the West Coast are going to knock Washington for not winning big again, but they beat the number 11 team in the country. Like this is
Yeah.
an Oregon State team who, if they beat Oregon, is going to who might play in the Pac-12 championship. Like
Right.
it is insane to me to think that anything other than Washington moving up in the rankings, because the rankings just dropped today. So I think they have Washington at 3, or is that 4?
Washington's at a 4.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, you have some people who are going to get mad at that, but you beat the 11th team in the country. It doesn't matter if you win by 1 point against the 11th team in the country. Like that
Yeah,
should move you
exactly.
up. It's actually insane to me. Yeah, I don't know. Any of your thoughts? I'm on the Penix Heisman train. I think he should get it over Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, if they finish undefeated, he's getting it. I think. I don't think they're going to give it to Jaden Daniels with LSU being what they'll be 9-3, right? If they win
Yeah,
out, and they have A&M, so it's not assured. I don't think that they'll go, and I won't be 8-4. At 8-4, he's not getting the Heisman Trophy.
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. No, all the I just want to be like tweeting stuff, and anyone who thinks Jaden Daniels should be the Heisman, it's fair argument. But I just like I love responding with just images of Toby Gerhart, like, oh, so you should have thought Toby Gerhart should have won the Heisman then. Oh, record doesn't count, I bet. Yeah,
Right.
let's vote Toby Gerhart. All time Heisman candidate Toby Gerhart. We got to do. You ever think about some of the weird Heisman finalists over the years?
And weird
Colin
Heisman.
Klein. Colin Klein's the one that kills me for finalists
Yeah,
every time.
Colin Klein is up there. I mean, you have some people who just won it and then dropped off the face of the earth.
Oh,
Like
Chris Weinke is my favorite at Florida State.
what's it?
He's
That Oklahoma guy, Jason White.
right.
Like
Who's
he won the
Tim
Heisman.
Couch at
Yeah, there have been some odd
even
ones.
even Troy Brown kind of felt. Did Troy Brown win the Heisman?
I'm not sure if he did or didn't. I know the year
Or,
Jason White did, he threw 35 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. I'm looking at that right
Jeez,
now.
what was the competition that year?
Let's see.
Who were the finalists that year? Yeah, who
I'm gonna look it up.
30, 35-9. I guess that'll get you like a second quarter start in the NFL Pro Bowl, but that shouldn't get you the Heisman.
He was just the third Heisman Trophy winner not to be drafted. And the other
Come on,
two,
it wasn't
one
one of
guy,
them like played basketball. Yeah,
yeah, Charlie Ward went to the NBA, and the other guy went into the military. Let's see, 2005
that's so
Heisman finalist.
that's so pathetic. Jason White didn't get drafted, but he won the
Oh,
Heisman.
sorry, 2004 is what year it was, not 2005. So in 2004, he actually had 40 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Or
Yeah,
no,
I get that.
wait, sorry, it's 2003. So 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and the other people were Larry Fitzgerald,
All right.
Eli Manning,
Yeah, just some average names here. Totally not NFL stars.
Chris Perry,
Who?
a running back at Michigan,
Oh,
who
brother.
actually didn't have a bad year. He had 1,600 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns, and then Darren Sproles finished 5th.
Fair enough. Perry. Well, I guess we're gonna keep on that Michigan hype because we're gonna keep the survival train going too. Michigan survived again. They survived again, and JJ McCarthy, the people who said I said it last week, Michigan fans think he's the best quarterback in the country. He's fighting for a chance to even be top 5 right now, Zooch, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, part of that I think is they're not asking him to do too much. Like the Penn State game, they obviously just weren't going to throw the ball because why would you? You're playing Penn State, so
Playing Penn State, a school that will never win the big game ever.
exactly. And then last week I watched. I'm trying to think because did that game start at 10 a.m. Trying to think of what
Michigan, yeah, early game.
Trying to think of what other games I was watching. It was a weird week last week because there was not any like until the nighttime, like any big, meaningful, like I guess playoff, like factoring games. But yeah, I think they're kind of saving some of his stuff for this week. To be honest with you,
I think that's a fair strategy, and also Maryland. I feel so bad. Is Maryland the Kentucky of the Big Ten, where they
yes.
start like 5-1 every year, and then they just lose out, and then you see them in the Belk Bowl, and you're like, all right, yeah, it's solid, I guess. Eight wins.
Yep. Every once in a while they'll finish like 10-3, but that is the pinnacle for them. 10-3.
We need a non-con Maryland versus Kentucky. Probably a pick'em spread. That would actually be objectively good football, I think. Maryland versus Kentucky. That's about
I would
as
watch.
evenly matched as that. Maryland versus Kentucky versus maybe like Arizona this year versus shoot. I'm trying to find a Big 12 school. Baylor. See, all 4 of those schools are just the same.
Speaking of Arizona, do they have any shot of going to the Pac-12 title game?
Yes, they need some losses though. I think
Because they lost to Washington and Oregon, right?
Yeah, so they would
Washington's going no matter what.
Yeah, they clinched with the game. But Arizona, yeah, big win for Arizona this week. They beat the crap out of Utah. Also, can we talk about a certain someone who announced his decision to return to college football next year, Cam Rising?
That's unbelievable that guy's still going to be back. That is truly amazing.
I think I looked it up. I think that guy came in to college with me in 2018. I will be now at the beginning of next year when he plays 3 years removed from graduation. Cam Rising, you have entered back into the world of college football. You need to enter the private sector and get a job with a PE firm in Salt Lake City and just live your life, hang your jersey up, maybe play Canadian football for the Alouettes. Shout out the Alouettes for winning the Grey Cup. But it's incredible that guy is approaching Perry Ellis territory.
Yeah, it's insane that guy is still. I can't believe it, to be honest with you.
I don't know. It's him and Britton Covey. Utah has given BYU a run for their money the last couple of years with guys just staying around and not doing anything.
Well, even
Um,
I feel like they always have, like, a quarterbacks who seem like they're there. There's that guy who was, like, almost looked just like Cam Rising. I cannot think of his name, but he was real that, like, 6'8" guy.
I don't know. I just remember the guy who's a Hundley. That was like kind of my introduction to big because that's when Utah football like was doing well in the Pac-12 was with Hundley.
Yeah, he seemed like he was I didn't even know that Cam Rising started at Texas.
You know what? Now that you reminded me, he did transfer. This guy, this man, Cam Rice. Can you imagine Texas's QB rooms if like the transfer portal like never exists and it's just like Cam Rising, Ewers, Malik Murphy. Well, I guess Malik Murphy comes transferring. So, and like Arch Manning, and then it's
Yeah,
just be the.
he might transfer honestly now, Arch
I
Manning.
think no, I don't think Arch will transfer with the Texas scenario. They're the Texas. They got a big game this week against Tech. Um, Tech, what a disappointment they've been this year. They were like dark horse, like ranked team, and they've
Yeah,
been just
people
like
thought they would, like, might get, like, win the Big 12, and they did not. They started by losing to Wyoming. Travis
yeah.
Wilson is who I was talking about.
Travis Wilson.
I'll put it to you this way. Travis Wilson
Can we get an
came
image on him?
Travis Wilson, if I can figure out how to put images in here.
I'll get an image of Travis Wilson on here. Travis Wilson. Let me get it on. Oh my gosh, this guy, yeah. Wait. Oh my gosh, dude, look at his Rams picture.
I know, he got transitioned to tight end.
Dude. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up real quick. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Oh my goodness, come on. You know, of course Chrome wants to be slow right now.
Of course, I needed to work.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe he wasn't there as long as I thought. He started as a freshman. That's probably why I felt like he was there for so long.
No,
But
this image is too funny not to share. Oh, here we go. Boom. You see what I'm seeing? It's loaded.
it's
Once we get this image. Once we get
that's him.
Oh my goodness, bro. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. What are his stats?
It doesn't have any because he didn't ever
Oh,
do
it's just
anything
the
in the
NFL.
NFL.
No, NCAA. What are his NCAA stats? I want to see what Travis. We've gone off on a Travis Wilson's tangent.
Okay.
Everyone, check back in.
His Wikipedia says he went
Bro,
undrafted in 20.
Look at these touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah, it was the weird.
Hey, he
it was
did. Hey,
weird.
pretty solid 2014 year. 5 rushing tutties, 18 throwing touchdowns. Not bad.
Well, the best part about him, I clicked on his Wikipedia and it says he went undrafted in 2016 and signed with the Los Angeles Rams in 2017. He tried out for the team while working at a surf shop in California.
That's perfect. You know, we can laugh all we want about his terrible like profile pick. That's the guy that's just living life, man. 4-year
Exactly.
starter, tried the NFL. He's what Cam Rising should do. You know, just
Yep.
go, try, move back to Southern California where you can get any 6-figure job you want pretty much because you were the quarterback of Utah. So
Right.
funny stuff. Well, sorry for that tangent. Let's get back to the stuff that we actually are talking about this week. And I'm finally gonna give. We're finally talking about Mizzou. We're finally talking about Mizzou, and we're only gonna talk about them for a little bit. But Eli Tulowitz, pretty good. I mean, not
Hey,
really. He almost lost to Sunbelt Billy, and you needed a 4th down completion to win the game. But you know, who am I? Who am I?
well, if they win, they'll probably go to New Year's Six Bowl.
Oh, I want to see Mizzou. I would love Mizzou versus whatever that group of 5 team is, and just watch Mizzou. Mizzou's the kind of team that would lose to the group of 5 team in the New Year's Six.
Yeah, I mean, they're 9 right now, so top 11, you automatically go, right?
Yes,
Because then the 12th team would be
the G5.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
dude, Mizzou's an interesting. I don't even want to talk about them. I think they're the most overrated team in the country. I think Eli Drinkowitz is the biggest tool in the country. This is a team that I watched that entire game against Florida, and the team they don't look like a top 12 team, but they just keep winning. And for that, I can't fault them, right?
right.
It's kind of like a less version of TCU, right? Like they keep winning, so like you can't just be the guy that's like, oh well, they're not better than Ole Miss, of course. Like, but like they're winning, right? If they're
Yeah,
gonna be ranked
exactly.
high, like they're not better. Like if you said who wins, Mizzou or Oregon State, most people would say Oregon State's gonna beat the shit out of Mizzou, but Oregon State's gonna be ranked below them. That's just how
Yeah,
it is with the wins and losses.
right.
So can't fault them, but Eli Drinkowitz, you're gonna get what's coming, and I know you will. You just wait. You just
It's
wait.
coming.
It's coming, and his name is Jamie Chadwell and the Liberty Flames. Oh, strike the stone. Sketchy stuff happened at that university, Liberty. Weird stuff. Uh, Jamie Chadwell, man. You think he goes to Mississippi State?
I think he won't be at Liberty long. I don't know if he'll go to Mississippi State, but I mean, but SEC, there's always a bunch of coaches who are gone each year, so we'll see if. I mean, he could go to maybe A&M offers him. Maybe he waits it out, and
I think Jamie
Arkansas
Chadwell will.
next year opens up, or Florida next year opens up. I mean, even
Come on,
Florida this year.
you don't think Sunbelt Billy is gonna turn it around?
Two. I mean, I think he'll probably get another year, but you at they had a losing season last year,
It's like
and
the Andy Avalos thing. It's a 3-year build. Like there's no reason with transfer portals. Like that third year, people become pretty impatient.
yeah, 6 and 7 last year. Unless they beat Florida State this year, they'll be 5 and 7 this year. And the issue is 5 and 7 this year and losing 5 games at the end of the season. They were 5 and 2.
Eesh. Graham Mertz. What are you
Yeah,
gonna say? Heisman candidate Graham Mertz. Man, what a funny guy. You know, what a funny guy. Graham Mertz. Would you take Graham Mertz?
no,
How many teams do you think you wouldn't take him?
no, I would not take it. I mean, he's been okay at Florida, but there's too many good quarterbacks in the portal that you could take, I think.
Well, I'm interested to see what the portal happens. It'll be interesting. What's interesting. I mean, obviously Spencer Danielson's interesting. And Boise just got a special teams commitment today from a kicker who looks like he's gonna replace Dalmas, and I mean, solid, right? But then Danielson, if he runs the table, you have to at least give him like an interview. Like you have to at least like seriously consider him if Spencer Danielson runs the table with Boise State.
Yeah, I think so. I do think that I think people are getting a little over their skis on
I
beating
agree,
Utah State.
just a little bit. I
And like
think.
even if they were to win out, I mean get it being like, all right, the guy went 4-0. Awesome. But killing a Utah State team who's not very good at all. And then I mean we'll see what happens with Air Force. I still have my doubts they're gonna win that game. But I mean, we'll see. Like I don't know. I would think there's some better candidates out there right now than a guy. I mean, I don't dislike Spencer Danielson. I don't think he's a bad coach or anything, but I think sometimes teams get caught up in that like juice they get when they fire a
Mm,
coach and
I
they're like,
agree.
"Oh, things are great right now," and then
I think I think the perfect scenario, at least in my mind, is to keep Spencer Danielson around as a DC, right?
yeah,
But then the thing is, Spencer Danielson wins 3 games in a row, right? Then he might be able to get a head coaching job at a smaller school or D coordinator job at a bigger school and just say, and like Andy was the one holding me back these years because Spencer Danielson had good defensive stats up until this year.
right.
Like he was a fantastic defensive coordinator up until this year. Now I think that's combined with a lot of talent leaving last year. So you're playing younger players and inexperienced players. So who knows? Maybe next year the defense is better, but it is interesting. It is like part of me is like, man, like the players are playing well, and like, what if Green and Genty buy in and they don't like leave because Danielson's here? But then on the other side, I'm conflicted because it's like, oh, like I should look past the 3 games and like we can, if we can get someone, or Boise State can get someone who's been from the outside and brings in a new way of thinking and experience, who knows? So I'm torn on the issue. I think I'm going to let it play out. That's my official opinion for now. We'll
Yeah,
just
I
let it
think
play out.
they will have a. I think we'll know who the coach is at Boise State by.
Well, you have to before the transfer portal nowadays.
Yeah, that, and I think that especially if Air Force beats them, that we'll know who the new coach is by the end of next week because every team is going to be basically done playing until their bowl game or done playing.
Mhm.
Period, with the exception of however many teams are playing in conference championship games. So that's when you
All
have to
right.
do it because you want it before December 4th, which is end of next week, I think. Maybe
That's
it's the
going to be a
following
fun
week.
day. That's going to be a fun day, transfer portal day. Although the
Can't
thing
wait.
I will say about the transfer portal, I talked to a lot of people who, and we'll end kind of the last week's games on this. I kind of feel like the transfer portal, when you talk about it with people who don't watch college football, like people don't realize is like dudes get stuck in the transfer portal and like don't get out. Like
Yeah.
it's only like what 50 or 60% of people end up finding a spot. And also like a lot of these kids, or I can say kids now because I'm older than all of them, which is a crazy thing to think about now. But like a lot of them, like they're downgrading. Not downgrading because that's the wrong word. Because Division 1 football is Division 1 football, but you're having a lot of people who it's like you're playing at an SEC school. It's like I'm gonna hit the transfer portal for greener pastures, and it's like I guess now I'm playing at like Eastern Carolina now.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. So it's got the pros and the cons to the portal. Like we only see the top 100 names that get to go wherever they want, while we don't get to see the probably thousands of other kids who are going to be entering the portal in a couple weeks.
Right. And you have to add on, we'll see. Because I think Sunday morning we'll start seeing a lot of coaches get fired.
Mhm.
It'll be, I think they're like, there's no point really in doing it now this late. Like if you hadn't gotten fired by now, it's going to be Sunday, but we'll see with like West Virginia, Florida, UCLA.
UCLA is, I think, a dark horse best job in the country.
That's
Lower
what you're saying last week.
expectations, lower expectations. Uh, you still have pretty much all the resources as these big schools, maybe a hint less, but still enough to win a national championship in my book. And you're going to the Big Ten. And you can
Right.
recruit, in my opinion, I'm going to piss a lot of people from Florida and Texas off, the #1 recruiting hotbed in the country in the LA Inland Empire, Orange County area. That is the best, and you can quote me on this, everyone. That is the best high school recruiting in the country. I don't want to hear about no Dallas Fort Worth. That's great. I don't want to hear, Miami-Dade, the state of Miami. That's a great way to recruit. Atlanta and its suburbs in Georgia, another great one. But nothing touches Southern California. I'm sorry.
What do you think? Speaking of, like you said, that one is a good one. Do you think there's any dark horse coaches who will get fired that people like aren't really expecting? Like, oh, like I didn't see that one coming.
The first one that comes to mind, if Jeff Wilcox at Cal doesn't beat UCLA and become bowl eligible, would not be surprised to see a change there heading into ACC play for Cal next year. That would not surprise me one bit. Another one that I think wouldn't surprise me as much. Oh, I'm trying to think. I was my a thought immediately jumped to Washington State, but I don't think they'd fire that coach after a year or two.
No.
I'm trying to think. 'Cause I should have another one. I would have said Jay Norvell at Colorado State if Boise State doesn't blow that game. He's probably done, but I think he could use that fluke victory for another year's paycheck for our buddy Mechanic Jay. But yeah, I would say the number one dark horse to get fired is fuck. Who did I just say? I got a terrible memory, man. I just Justin Wilcox. Justin
Yeah,
Wilcox is the person I think who might get fired. But
makes sense. I mean, he's like year 6 or 7, and nothing's really improved. So
nothing, and he doesn't really pump out drafts either. So we'll see. Dang, talking about Cal gets me depressed and sad and bored because they're a boring program. This game's not going to be boring though. So we're talking about next week's games or this week's games. Michigan, Ohio State. You saw the name in my thing. The freak out off. I think we are going to get a soundbite of the century in this game. This is the game of the year. This is the
it
game of
is.
the year. This is the game of the year. I'm stoked. This is so incredible. Like this, I was actively rooting for Ohio State, who I hate, to win, and Michigan, who I would have just loved to blow it to win, just so we could have this matchup.
Oh yeah, and I do. I'm thinking Michigan's gonna kill them again.
I don't think kill, but I think Michigan wins. I think Michigan wins, and we get cringy Michigan sound bites, and then they're gonna win one that should be somewhat close in the Big Ten championship, and then they're gonna get their ass kicked by like Washington or Florida State.
In the first round of the playoff.
Yeah, and then it's gonna Harbaugh's gonna do. But I think Michigan's gonna win because it's out the big house this year, right? Like
Yeah.
it's at Michigan. Oh yeah. Also, you heard it here first. I am not a betting man, but if I was, put $20 on there being some sort of pregame scuffle.
Oh yeah.
Not a chance. Not a chance there's not a pregame scuffle. I might even put $20 on them not shaking their hands, which, to be honest, would be a total Ryan Day loser move. Total loser move to not shake hands, but I don't put it past Ryan Day. So who knows? But I also think Michigan's going to kill him. Well, not kill him, but beat him pretty handily.
Beat him pretty handily. Yeah, I think. I don't know. It's Michigan seems better to me. So
Michigan seems better to me as well. So we'll see. But who knows? Marvin Harrison could take over. Not the this is like the home bone. We've been following Ole Miss all year. Zooch, Ole Miss fan. I've hopped onto the hashtag coming to the sit bandwagon. And I'm talking I like the Egg Bowl, Mississippi versus Mississippi State. I'm talking about it because not so much more if Ole Miss wins, it essentially guarantees them a New Year's Six, would you say? Or puts them in a
no
position for a New Year's Six or
position. They would probably need Louisville or
and Mizzou to
Missouri to.
lose?
Yeah.
Okay. And Oregon State to lose probably too to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the coolest thing ever that they play on Thanksgiving. And I was talking to you last week about how off camera, about how no one gets screwed harder by the NFL adding that third Thanksgiving game than Ole Miss Mississippi State. 'Cause
Yeah,
that
it used
like
to be the standalone third. Like people are done eating, they're just hanging out, having a few drinks, seeing family that they don't get to see, but a couple times a year, and that would be the game. You put that game on, and I mean, usually you see some yeah, they're not top tier SEC teams, but you see guys who end up being pretty good in the NFL. I mean, you've had AJ Brown's been in that game, Dak Prescott, DK
Elijah Moore,
Metcalf.
the infamous piss game. There have been some good games. I was watching a a highlight. I so I originally had seen this clip a few years ago, and I thought it was like a joke reel where it's like the gust of wind that stops the ball mid-air when the Mississippi State kicker's kicking it, and it just drops. I'm like, what just happened? If you haven't seen the clip, look up. I think it's like Egg Bowl 1982 or 1983. And the Mississippi State kicker has got like a 35-40 yarder, and he kicks it, and it's straight in the gusting wind, and it literally stops. Like when you hit a golf ball too high into like the wind, and it's just like the ball flight just stops and it just drops.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's
it is
happened.
it's the funniest thing ever. But this game, like do people eat Thanksgiving like their meals in the Grove and just hang out all
A lot
day?
of people will because it's so big, the Grove, that they pay an extraordinary amount of money to have their stuff there. So they have everything you could possibly
I
they'll basically, if it was in this year it's in Starkville, but if it was in Oxford, people would basically tomorrow start setting up all their stuff. Like if
So
you went to campus, you would see
is the
everything start
Grove
getting
weird
set up.
like that? Because isn't there one part of the Grove where it's like a first come first serve, and that's when you see the mad dash?
There's possibly I know a lot of people like to be on the side, like basically the team will walk through before the game for the walk of champions, but I know people
Champions
want
of
to.
what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've actually baseball.
There.
Baseball won a
Okay.
couple
There
years
we go.
ago,
There we go. There we
but
go.
uh yeah, like people like to be there because you get to see all the players and all that kind of stuff. But that part, you can just walk over to that part too. It's just the Grove is like if you imagine. I'm trying to think of how to explain it to people. It would almost be like on our campus, for example, almost our entire campus. Like if you went from towers all the way down to like where the
The sub.
communication building is, or even the sub,
Ah,
it's that big of
and
stuff. There's like 4 or 5 lanes you can like walk through, and it's right next to their student union building. And their their campus is kind of like ours, like pretty small. So like
so
the
the Grove is pretty much like a third of their campus.
Yeah, the Grove's like a third of their campus, and then a little outside the Grove, you have the basketball arena, and then the football stadium, and the baseball stadium's a little ways away. Then they have Fraternity Row, which you have to walk to, but I mean, so many people are in like frats and sororities there that their Fraternity Row is huge. So like a ton of people, like my dad went there, and the house was so big they had like woman who lived there and like did the laundry and cooked food. Like they had multiple women who like did that. So it's like a
It's
smaller
a different ball
campus,
game
but
over there at Ole Miss.
oh yeah,
It really is a different ball game. But speaking of this ball game, I think Ole Miss is going to cover the spread. It could be 21
I do
points. I
too.
think they're going to. Mississippi State is a team looking forward to next year.
Yeah,
And it stung for them because their coach literally died.
yeah.
And they were like, after having a solid year, his last year there, it is a bummer for them. But hey, watch out. Jamie Chadwell. He could be a good coach for Mississippi State.
No,
Oh, strike stone.
that was one of the
Strike
sadder
stone.
coaching deaths. Mike Leach, he was always like
Yeah.
great for sound bites and like the most random
Yeah. I
things.
love the
So
clip of Mike Leach, and I think it's when he was playing like U of I, like one of his first years at Wazoo, and he's like starts yelling at the U of I coach, and they get in this huge argument post game, and then it turns out that like they're like neighbors on the same street because Moscow and Pullman are so close to each other. He's just like he's gonna get the huge fight with like one of his best friends on the field. But yeah, that's a good one. And speaking of, is the Iron Bowl going to be a good one?
I
Do,
always
do you think
like
it's
the
going to be a
Iron
close
Bowl.
game?
Like
I mean,
I always enjoy the Iron Bowl. So
I think it is too. I think, like you said earlier, the Auburn is going to be it's going to be close. It's ah, I take that back. Closer than people think. I
that's
think
how I am
Alabama
because
wins handily.
I mean, Auburn played Georgia really close. They played Ole Miss pretty close. LSU did kill them, but I mean, Auburn's always been weird like that. They can like come out and look amazing against a good team, and then a bad team just completely look like they don't even know how to play the sport. So
Mhm.
I think Auburn knows like they can really ruin Alabama's season if they win this game.
Oh, I
So
mean that's what the Iron Bull's like bred on. It's
yeah,
just like be the ruiner. But it's crazy. I mean, Hugh Freeze, I think this could salvage his season. This game, him winning this, is the difference between failure of a first season and oh, we got something. And
well,
it's crazy that that one game can depend on that, but that's truly
well,
what it is.
if you think about it, this is how I think about it for him. If they win that, they're 7-5. You win your bowl game, you're 8-5 in your first year. And you look at
Mhm.
it and you're like, okay, well, we lost to Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU. I don't remember the other two they lost to off the top of my head, but 3 pretty good teams. But if you lose and you're 6-6 and you lose, to me, there's a big difference in looking at going 8-5 in your first year and possibly 6-7. So
Yeah.
we'll
No,
see.
it'll be interesting. No, it'll be interesting to see for sure. Moving on, we're just gonna bust through these bad boys. Oregon State, probably the best like ranked versus ranked matchup this week, besides Michigan versus Ohio State. This is another the Civil War. This is Oregon State. It's not. I think Oregon State's got a lot to play for because not only can they play spoiler, but they can also shoot themselves up into like that Alamo Bowl, maybe even New Year's Six Bowl range with a win in this game.
Right, and because do they have? I'm trying to think right now. Do they have 3 losses in conference or 2? Because I think if they were to, let's see, I'm pulling it up right now.
They have
Okay,
two.
they
They have
they have
or they have
3.
three.
They
Ah,
it's Wazoo by 3, which they probably should have won that game.
hey, my
I
man
mean,
Cam Ward. Hey, if the Heisman was only the first month, he wins it.
they've lost by 3 to Wazoo, 3 to Arizona, and 2 to Washington. If they had just won one of those, this would be winner goes to the Pac-12 title. So I think now, basically,
Because Arizona still got a shot, right?
yeah, but did Oregon beat Arizona, or did they not play?
I don't think they played. So if Oregon State beats Oregon, does Arizona have a shot if they win?
I think they would, because I think
Holy
you would have
moly,
to.
Washington's praying for Arizona. I'm sorry, Arizona, but
Yeah, so I'm looking right now at Arizona. They're also probably wishing they didn't somehow lose to Mississippi State,
yeah.
and USC, honestly, by 2. But yeah, I mean, Arizona plays Arizona State this week, so I guess it would just depend on if Arizona wins and Oregon State beats Oregon, if Oregon's ahead of Arizona in the final playoff
Rankings.
thing. But the rankings, I don't know though, because like if they don't, does the Pac-12
Do you like the
base
Mountain
it off?
West system? I don't think so. I don't
Because
know.
you can't wait until Tuesday. It's got to be the computer thing, because you can't wait until Tuesday to announce who someone's going to play,
Yeah.
like who Washington's going to play. So
I think it would have to be the computer thing as well. I really do. But I don't know. What I know with this game is that I think this game's going to be a better game than the Michigan Ohio State game because I think Michigan might start to run away with that. I think this game is going to be like battle to the end. Like this, like mark this in as the best game of the weekend. Like,
yeah, no, this one will be great.
This is like two offensive lines that play well. This is going to be a Pac-12 game, but it's going to feel like you're watching like two great Big 12 teams, if that makes sense. Or it's going to be like an a great Big 10 team in Oregon State playing a great Big 12 team in Oregon, where it's like
Yeah,
that power football versus like that spread power that the Big 12 has sometimes.
right.
But the Big 12, you got some drama. I'm going to read these scenarios to you. Okay? And these are the scenarios for the Big 12 championship game. All right. So Oklahoma remains in contention with either a loss or a win against TCU. Texas can clinch both a berth to the championship and the number 1 seed with a win over Texas Tech, right? So if Texas wins against Texas Tech, Oklahoma State wins, they're in, no matter what.
Okay.
Oklahoma would need to win, and Oklahoma State would need to lose. So that's how the Sooners get in. They need to pray for an Oklahoma State loss. If both of these teams lose, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, if Kansas State then wins, Kansas State will sneak their way into the Big 12 championship game. Now, that's if Texas wins. If Texas loses, it becomes a shit show. That means no team can clinch a bid to the championship until Saturday. So then Texas can only clinch a berth to the championship if two of the two lost teams, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, lose on Friday or Saturday. If Texas loses and two of the 3 teams win, there will be 3 or 4 teams tied for the championship berth. Multiple scenarios exist in this circumstance, contingent on which team remains in the tiebreaker pool. That's the doomsday scenario. That is if Texas loses and then the perfect scenario lines up where the right combination of those 3 teams I listed, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Kansas State, winning and losing, it's going to be chaos. You're going to have 4 teams. Right now you have 4 teams vying for 2 spots. It's insane, but that's why I love it. That being said, I don't think Texas Tech stands a gosh dang chance against Texas this weekend.
I mean, it's Which I just did look it up, by the way. And if Arizona wins and Oregon loses, let me make sure I read it right. Arizona goes to the Pac-12 title game.
Mhm.
So
That's
we could
insane.
just
That's so insane that Arizona could be in the Pac-12 championship game.
it is. It's almost hilarious. Oh, let me go back up to here it is, Texas Tech, Texas. It just says on this ESPN article, if Texas Tech wins, the Big 12 is doomed.
That's what the article says.
Yeah, I'm talking about like playoff hopes.
Well,
Okay,
they're not
so
wrong.
if like you said, if Texas loses, it can
Yeah,
still
what's
play
the
in the
doomsday
conference.
scenario with Texas losing?
Okay, if Texas loses, it can still play in the conference championship game with an Oklahoma loss, or an Oklahoma State loss, or a Kansas State win. But a two-loss Texas as a Big 12 champ would render the head-to-head with Alabama moot.
Mhm.
So if Texas wins, I'm trying to see if they have any more on these because they probably don't have Oklahoma's not going to the title game. So yeah, that I mean Texas is like their last hope, and really for the Pac-12, you're almost kind of I would I mean I know they're all leaving, but you're almost kind of hoping Oregon State. I mean Oregon beats Oregon State, right?
Oh,
Because that
if
almost
yeah,
assures you a team going to the
it does. If
playoff.
Oregon State wins, even if Arizona wins or loses, it's Washington or bust for them. Is they're not the committee. Whether we think Oregon's had a tougher schedule, they're never letting a two-loss Pac-12 team, even though if they're the champion, get in over a one-loss loser of Michigan or Ohio State, or a one-loss Georgia loser of the SEC.
Yeah,
So it's just not going to happen.
I don't know. I feel like this is setting up possibly for a Texas Tech win. 3 straight wins.
You, nope, nope. Sorry. I know you got the Raider. Is that why you wore the Raider hat today? Because you wanted to
No,
stand in
I
solidarity
just
with the Red Raiders?
this
This is
seems
this
like
is
a
this is a
game.
blasphemy.
This seems like a game Texas could definitely somehow jack up. But now that I said that,
I
they'll win
think
like 49 to
last
10.
year last year they jacked it up. I think they're not going to forget when all the Texas Tech bros stormed the field and got in the faces of them last year. I think this
True.
is a total Sark game where Sark hangs, like you said, 60 on them, and then they just blow their load this week, and for some reason the Big 12 championship is closer than it should. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, Texas.
Oh, Texas is right. We will see. We'll see if the Raiders got on their back. Any other things that we want to talk about? I guess the only thing I have from this last week is I think we just saw the last Caleb Williams in a USC uniform. I mean, he might play this week, but what are we kidding ourselves?
They don't have a game this week.
Oh,
They're
yeah. Then
done.
that's the last time we'll ever see him in a uniform. So,
Yeah,
well,
I
he's
highly
gonna
doubt
be
he plays in a bowl game.
not a chance. Yeah, I don't even think USC's not even ranked. So, I mean, we talked about USC in the Holiday Bowl. Usually they like taking a ranked team in the Holiday Bowl. What's oh my gosh, no, I just thought of a nightmare scenario, Zooch. Zooch, I
They're
just
in
thought
the
of a
LA
nightmare
Bowl
scenario. Yep. Oh no.
because it's the
Oh, the
sixth
Mountain
team and
West is gonna get embarrassed. The Mountain West is gonna get so embarrassed when they play USC. Oh
it's the
no.
16 goes right now, and basically you can take out Washington, Oregon, Arizona State, and Oregon
Oh,
State. They're not going to that bowl
Arizona,
game.
Oregon.
So it's basically
So
between
Utah and
USC,
USC and
Utah, and
UCLA.
yeah,
And I bet that bowl wants USC or UCLA because of LA proximity.
yep. I don't think they would hate Utah versus Boise State. That might get some fans if Boise State wins the conference title, which I don't think they're going to. But
I
the
don't
good thing for the LA Bowl is they could get UNLV there, which UNLV versus USC would not be a terrible. I mean, I don't know how many people would be there, but that's not a terrible bowl matchup for the LA Bowl, to be completely honest, or
I don't think
UCLA.
I think anyone just doesn't want Air Force. I'm sorry, Air Force. You just don't draw. I hate viewers, guys online, like the guys who are like, "Well, this only drew this, and you only drew this." It's like, well, why don't you watch the game, you effing loser? So yeah, but Air Force doesn't draw views. I don't know how many Air Force service members salute the service. Thank you all, but I don't know how many of you guys are hanging out in El Segundo or Manhattan Beach just chilling can go to the LA Bowl. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah. But no, my nightmare scenario is Boise State having to play USC, and no, we would embarrass the Mountain West, man. I think any Mountain West team would embarrass the Mountain West versus USC. So that's not a Boise specific thing, but I just have a bad feeling about how that game would play out.
Yeah.
I have it messed up in my
There'd
head
be.
where they have their backup quarterback, like some 5-star true freshman who can use one game because he won't burn his red shirt, like throws for 5 touchdowns, and it's like I think it's Malachi Nelson's his name because I remember him getting recruited to USC. It's like Malachi Nelson for Heisman next year? Question mark. It's like, oh boy.
Or
I,
Miller Moss, whoever this guy is that I'm looking at right now.
oh, Miller Moss. Yeah, he was like a 4 or 5 star too. It's
Yeah.
uh,
He looks like the guy who's going to lead USC to a national title just based on his profile picture. So
you got to look up where he's from. He's
he
either
is
from
from
it
he
either
is
have to
from
be
Los
suburban.
Angeles.
What I'm gonna find out what high school he went to because he needs to be from. If he's from suburban Orange County, he is Matt Leinart reincarnated or Carson Palmer reincarnated, or
He
I'm trying to
went
think of the name.
to
Sam Darnold.
I'm looking
He needs to go to like
where
the most like a total douche school, and that's how USC wins.
Mission
You
Hills,
need someone going,
California is where he's from.
oh, boom, Mission Viejo. That yep, their win. Pencil it in. USC Big Ten champion next year. But yeah. I knew it. That's we can talk about Caleb Williams. He grew up in what, DC,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah. USC's not going to win with the QB from DC. You saw how the
Heck no.
Max Brown experiment went, and he's from Washington. USC needs a quarterback from, like, you remember that old fake reality show, like Laguna High School, like
Yeah.
Laguna Hills? Yeah, they need like someone from like that high school. They need just that kid. Like that's what USC needs
Then they
leading
win.
them. Yep, that we just broke the formula. Lincoln Riley, what are you doing? All right, well, let's get into the meme matchup this week. That was a lot, man. That was a lot of games to burn through. I think
It
we
was.
did a pretty
It's
good
a great
job right
weekend.
there. It was a great weekend. But yeah, meme matchup. I know I went first last week. So Zooch, what is your meme matchup this week?
Clemson, South Carolina.
Why is that?
The coaches, it's like weird thing where like Dabo Sweeney's like kind of on the hot seat, and really Shane Beamer is too. Like Shane Beamer was a weird
Tyler.
hire when it happened.
Tyler
They'll
from
like
Spartanburg.
the whole thing, that whole game is just funny to me because like it'll be packed out, and I really can't wait for that game. I mean, I can. I'm probably not going to watch it much, but
Is South Carolina bowl eligible? Do they even have a chance to be
I'm
bowl
looking it
eligible?
up right now. I think they are 5-6, but let me double check on that. I mean, I think Clemson's getting a little bit. If I'm being honest with you, Clemson's getting a little bit of a rough rap this year because they've lost that. Yeah, Duke killed them, but they lost by 8 and 7 and 7 in their other games. So it's not like
They
I don't
blew a
know.
couple
I
close
think people are
games.
acting like they're like 5-7. Yeah, so South Carolina's
know.
5-6.
Okay, so they're playing for bowl eligibility, and I agree with you on the Clemson part. I think it's a bad year, but for anyone to think Dabo Sweeney should be put on the hot seat, you're out of your friggin' mind. It's like with any great player, like you saw it with Kobe on the Lakers. I'm starting to see it with Steph on the Warriors. You saw it with Tom Brady in New England, and it started to go poor for him, and that's why he left in such a sour way. It's when you get someone of that status, for better or for worse, you're married to that person until they want to go, even if it is detrimental
Right.
to everything else. Like Dabo gets to coach at Clemson for as long as Dabo wants. And unless you want it to, and unless Clemson wants to be the bad guys in the situation, like Dabo gets to coach. And look, I think Dabo's kind of corny. I think he's kind of a tool sometimes, but the man wins football games. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And he's so he's so ironically funny. The hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock. All-time video by Dabo Sweeney. But my meme matchup of the week is RIP, pour one out. The last Pac-12 regular season game ever, UCLA versus Cal. at 7:30 on ESPN. Last time we'll get Pac-12 after dark. Sad day for everyone, but it'll be, let's treat this not like a funeral, but like a celebration of life. Let's remember all the fun times we had watching Pac-12 after dark. I, and Mountain West after dark is like the true sicko like stuff. Like if like because I
Yeah.
watch Mountain West after dark sometimes. Like if the Pac-12 after dark was the club, like the Hakkasan nightclub in Vegas, Mountain West after dark is Jim's Alibi on Broadway, and you're just ripping 15 beers and you're just having yourself a night. But Pac-12 after dark. What's your favorite Pac-12 after dark moments, or some of your favorites as we
One, and
reminisce on Pac-12
it's
after
funny that
dark?
you say that about Jim's Alibi. It's a different bar, but when it was one Saturday night, and me and my friend Troy, we were living together at the time, and you've been to this house, but it was right down the street from Crickets, that house. And we're like, okay, let's just
Yep.
let's go get a couple beers, walk down to Crickets, get a couple beers, like hang out. Because like at the time, Washington State was beating UCLA like legitimately. It was like
Yep.
42-3.
I
don't
remember the
the
game.
exact score, but
DTR
it
game.
was like
DTR legacy
4 or
game.
5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And we get there, we're having a couple beers, like shooting pool or something, playing darts. I don't remember what we were doing, but we were just bored at the house. We're like, let's go out for a little bit. And I kid you not, I think Sean was there right as Washington State starts to come back. There's just this brawl between all these guys in a frat in the middle of Crickets. And you see a Wazoo fan just like screaming at the TV because he's excited, and the bouncer's like pushing people outside. It was like it was like neither team was going to be that good, Washington State or UCLA. But I gotta see what that score was, because I've never seen a game like that.
Didn't UCLA come back like 35 points in like a quarter and a half?
Yeah, the final score is 67-63.
Yeah.
But at one point it was okay. So with 3 minutes and 48 seconds left in the third quarter, UCLA scored to make it 49-24.
Mm-hmm.
It was 49-24 Washington State at that point.
Jeez.
And then there was UCLA won 67-63. That's insane to me.
It's insane.
It gets better. Anthony Gordon lost the game in which he went 41 of 61 for 570 yards with 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
They lost?
They lost.
Jeez. See, the Pac-12 After Dark was awesome. 3 moments come to mind for me with the Pac-12 After Dark, and I say these because I watched these live, all of them. The first one is the Josh Rosen comeback against Texas A&M. That was absolutely
I remember
incredible.
On Fox, like that Sunday night game, right? Is
Yep,
that the one you're talking about?
Yep, it wasn't on ESPN, so I guess it wasn't traditionally Pac-12 After Dark, but it was a Pac-12 game that started in the evening West Coast time, and that game was just incredible to watch. Also, the clip, you remember when Wazoo played, I think it was Stanford or Washington at Lumen Field, and I watched this live. It's used in clips all the time, but the guy who's shoveling a cylinder of kettle corn into his mouth, and he's just going like, all-time Pac-12 After Dark moment. And Pac-12 After Dark moment that I was at in person was when Khalil Tate beat Cal. Davis Webb led Cal, and he ran for like 270 yards. Khalil Tate. It was like his first national breaking out game versus Cal, and it was like it went into overtime or double overtime, and Cal either went for 2 and didn't get it, or Arizona went for 2 and got it. But it was just I was there live in the stands with Cody, resident Sooner Nation leader Cody, and Zach Boyson, member of the In the End Zone podcast. And it was just a fun time at Berkeley. There was these 2 Berkeley guys, and they asked me and Cody, who were in high school at the time, hey, like, you guys know where we can get drugs? And me and Cody are looking at him like, dude, like, we're in high school. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just 2 hammered Berkeleyites. And we're just like, we were just like, what? And we're just like, they're like, yeah, never mind. And we're like, what the hell was that? But I'm gonna miss Pac-12
Well,
after
even
dark.
like if you go back with the Pac-12, like when USC was in its heyday, like after the Bush and Leinart years, those games are always at nighttime. Like the one where Stanford beat them, and Stanford
Oregon
was like
State beat them.
two and the Rogers
Yeah,
brothers like went off and beat
yeah.
them, and you would have like that dude, and it's always show, and it, like I counted as a Pac-12 after dark game, even though technically a Mountain West team was in it, but like I mean Reggie Bush was good, but like the game that you always see, like the highlight of Reggie Bush you always see is that
Fresno
cutback against
State.
Fresno
Yeah.
State, yeah, and they won like 50-43. It was like, and like people are like Fresno, like why is Fresno State close with UCLA? Well, it's the Pac, and those games used to come on. I'll never forget this. Like they used to come on like not even early satellite days, but like peak, like before streaming of sports, really. Like those games would come on like for us at least in Florida, like Fox Sports California, and like you'd have to like randomly hope you had that game to like oh I want like it's midnight 1 in the morning here, like I'll be like up with my dad and then we like be trying to find the game and it would be like oh USC Fresno State or Cal Stanford or whoever it was, like
Yeah.
great times.
But it was great times. I think at least there's two good things that might come out of this. I think Mountain West After Dark, true, and I've seen what's it called, Fox and FS1 try to rebrand. Have you seen the Mountain West After Dark like logos
Yeah.
on the late game? So Mountain West After Dark, I think, is going to get even bigger. And then also, I think, sorry, Big Ten and Big 12, I think you guys are just going to have to get used to the West Coast style of those late Saturday games. Like
Oh
we
yeah.
love it. Like it stinks, but it'll be fun. RIP the Pac-12 After Dark. Great viewing experience. Let's end the show doing what we think our playoff rankings are going to be after this weekend going into conference championship weekend. So this is not our rankings now because the rankings that they already dropped today. So this is predicting what do we think the rankings are going to be next week after rivalry weekend. Um, should we even both say one because we have the same one, don't we?
Georgia. It's an easy
Georgia,
one.
yeah.
Georgia's
Enough
not
said.
losing.
Enough said. Um, my number two is the Michigan Wolverines. I think they beat
Same.
Ohio State, and I think stuff happens. Here's where it gets interesting, or could. Number three, moving up, I think it's the Washington Huskies. I think Washington
Yeah,
kills
but I have
Wazoo,
Washington at 3.
and they move up. Here's where it gets even more dicey. Florida State comes back in at number four.
Back in at 4.
Who do you have
Okay.
at
Yep.
four?
At 4 right now, I'm gonna have Oregon. I think Oregon's gonna with the win over Oregon
All
State,
right.
and I think that Florida State game is gonna be close, and I think they'll put Oregon up to have that. Oh, it's 3 versus 4. Like the winner's already
Winner
going,
goes.
but I think yeah.
That makes sense. I don't hate that because I have Oregon at number five. I think
Okay.
Oregon, and like I said, if you're four through, if you're seven and in, although Texas might get screwed, I think there's seven teams that control their own destiny. It's Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Oregon, Alabama, and Ohio State. Those
Yeah.
seven teams control their own destiny. Texas, I would say like 50% does. But then my sixth ranked team is not Texas. It's not Ohio State. It's Alabama. Like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Alabama's sitting there like a stalking pack of hyenas, just waiting and waiting to pounce. Like
Yeah.
they could care less that they are outside the circle right now. They are going to come in when they deem necessary. And Papa Saban says sick 'em to the dogs. And it's that SEC championship could be incredible. Tied
So
versus
I have
Georgia.
mine is gonna be it's gonna sound a little weird, but I do think Texas is gonna lose this weekend.
Okay.
So I had Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Oregon, Florida State at 5. I
Yeah.
think Alabama is going to be 6.
Six. I
But
have
I think
Alabama at six.
Texas. I think
Oh, but you do
Texas
think
is.
Texas loses and
Yeah, I don't
eliminates
think
themselves
Texas
from
is
the
going to be in the
playoff?
top 6. Yeah, I think Texas is going to lose this weekend.
Oh. I mean, if they lose this weekend, they might not be in the top eight. No.
Yeah, they're. I
Ah,
mean, well, if you
who
look
would be above
behind there,
them?
you
I'm trying to
have.
think. Yeah.
It depends on what like Missouri, Louisville, and Penn State do, and I
Oh
guess
man,
Ole Miss.
that's
But
just that's a disgusting trio of teams. Louisville, Mizzou, and the Fighting James Franklins of Penn State. That's
yeah, they're not
pathetic.
fun. Nothing is fun about
If
any of those
you
teams. So
nothing is the only thing fun
except
about
Cody, every
Louisville.
time you bring up Missouri, talks about how hard their running back runs and that he came from Division 3 or whatever it was.
Cody has a soft spot in his heart for anyone who doesn't get recruited straight to like a power school straight out of high school. And sorry that I don't think Cam Schrader. Yeah, Cam Schrader looks real good. Did he look real good when they played Georgia? No, he ran into a real linebacker then, killed him. Cam Schrader. I'm sure you're a fine running back, but like I said, Mizzou is the kind of school to lose to a G5 in the New Year's Six after hyping up all their fans.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
the Mizzou thing to do. And partially, I don't care that my vision is being clouded with Mizzou because I think Eli Drinkowitz is a tool. I've said it every week. He's a tool, and I don't think he's a good person at all. This is just me. This is just my opinion. So don't take it as a fact. But the fact of the matter is that if Mizzou goes to a New Year's Six, they are going to lose. And you could put that in the bank because it's cash money. It's cash
Well,
money. It
I'm
is
the
a cash bet for you betting folks. Bet Ole Miss not winning a game in the New Year's Six Bowl if they make it. If Mizzou makes it to the Capital One like Orlando Bowl, they'll beat the team by 50 in my opinion. No way Mizzou
so
wins the New Year's Six.
what I think is going to happen with Mizzou. I mean, they play. Who did we say they play? No, Kentucky plays Louisville. Missouri plays. Who did we say Missouri plays this year? Or this week? Sorry,
Let me look it up. Let me look it up.
Arkansas. Okay. If they lose that game, I want to make sure I have these right. Close that. I really think that they're going to put them versus Kansas in that Texas Bowl. I wanted to make sure I had that bowl. Either that
The
or the
Cotton
Liberty
Bowl,
Bowl. No, I think
Liberty
if
Bowl.
Mizzou, they'll get the border war. That's a big. I mean, Missouri, Kansas, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because didn't they like one of the schools like bitched out last year? Or allegedly, both sides said the other school was the one who cowered out. So that means
Yeah,
both of them were too scared to play each other. Like when
right.
two schools say, "Oh, they won't play me," it means you both don't want to play each other. It's like the hold me
Yeah,
back, bro.
exactly.
And then when you let go, it's like, oh, I don't want to fight.
Yes, I
But
just
Mizzou
think
versus
that.
Kansas would be good.
Yeah, I mean, they'll look like that's a good bowl game to have, in my opinion. If you're those two schools, like you're playing a former, I guess. I guess you don't consider them. They're still rivals, but you don't play each other every year now, and the game's in Memphis, so like people somewhat will want to go there, I imagine.
And the Liberty Bowl is not some Joe Schmo bowl. Like that's a bowl that's been around for a while. Like it's not like the Cheez It McCheesy Bowl. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it's a solid bowl.
And Kansas is what has 3 losses right now.
I think so.
If Kansas wins this weekend, they'll be 8-4. They play Cincinnati. They should win that game. Kansas, damn, I didn't realize Kansas had lost the last 2 by a combined 7 points. But 8-4 Kansas, 9-3 Missouri. Like if you're not going to play, then you'll both be in the top 25, or Kansas should be close. Like why don't even have rivals anymore?
Don't even have rivals, and you can bet your ass that Chase Daniel will be at that game, or Chase Daniels.
Yeah.
He'll be at the
And
game. Todd Reesing, maybe Aqib Talib. So maybe the whole late 2000s crew can get over there for both of the schools.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's it. That was signing. This is the end of the last regular season show. Doing this all year. This has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you to all listening. Thank you to Zooch. This has been a fun ride this regular season. It always is a fun
It
ride.
has. And we get championship game. It's going to be excellent. If everyone wins who's supposed to be, we are going to have so many playoff eliminators next week that I wish the stupid Big Ten would just do like everyone else and get rid of the divisions because you could have. I mean, if Michigan Ohio State is like a 1 point game,
They
who
just play
would not
again.
want to see that the next week? Like instead of Michigan playing, who I think freaking Iowa is.
We could have made Iowa and Nebraska the meme matchup, although that just might be the sad matchup. That's the cream matchup because that's just you have to eat a big bowl of ice cream because you're sad watching
Yeah,
that game.
it is definitely Iowa. They've already clinched a spot, so
And Brian
they'll
Ferentz
probably.
isn't even going to be there. Like, what's the point if Brian Ferentz isn't trying to be on the quest for 25 points a game?
It's
But
just so funny to me to look at them, and they are 9-2, which they have scored over 30 points one time this season. Once
no,
they have scored.
it is incredible, and they do this every year. It's not like
It's they have scored less than 20 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't mean to click on that. 6 times they have scored less than 20 points. 6.
that's insane. That's only Iowa though, and only college football, right?
Right.
Like that is it is those are the intricacies I love. That like Iowa, like this is a team that should be bad in all facets. And they're gonna be playing for a chance to pretty much go to the Rose Bowl. Like if they win the
Right.
Big 12, if they win the Big 10, they're gonna play in the Rose Bowl. So we will see. Enough Iowa talk, Zooch. You got anything else?
Nothing else. Everyone enjoy your Thanksgiving and watch some good football this weekend.
All right, everybody, enjoy your Thanksgiving. We will see you next week with a conference champions extravaganza. So stay tuned for that.
Peace,
Signing
everybody.
signing off.